22 minutes to get 10 people onboarded here. Ship is pulling away from the dock. Hurry up and jump. What's up, what's up, what's up? I see kittens. Kitty kitties. Kitty kitties, kitties.
They are very vocal.
John Witherspoon, how are you? What's going on, man? Lots and lots of lever gun rigs. I think this is all of them. There's a ton on the wall. There's these here. They just take a lot of time to clip the threads on. Typhon, red thread, AKM4 micros. Those are finishing up. Byron, what's up? Did that just hiss at you? Hydros. Diamond D, what's up? Zane Fisher, how are you? Busy day, a lot going on. Byron Roberts, what's up? Josh Winnie, man, how are you? Couple belts right here. Jay Davenport, what's up? So what did everybody do today? How was your day? Your week is already half over. Half of the week is gone. What do you have to show? Tattooed, what's going on? 17 people here. 10 thumbs up. Hit them thumbs up. Everybody seen these lever gun rigs? You know how these work? Just rips down. Just pulls out. Falls into place. Josh, it sure was nice. It was very nice, yeah. Very, very nice out. Got some food put up and the chicken nests put together in the coop. Zane, right on, man. You got pictures of that somewhere? Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. What are you using for nest boxes? For years and years, I used the plastic nest boxes. You just screw them onto a sheet of plywood, right? And we use dog kennels for our chickens to nest up in. So we'd put a sheet of plywood or 2x4s on the outside chain link, and then we would just screw those chicken boxes. And they work great. They work well enough for sure. Now I use, I don't remember the name of them. I don't remember the name of the company, but we use rollout nest boxes. So the chickens get in there, and they've got these red, like vinyl material. And they get in there on the bar and get inside, lay their eggs, and then they roll out. And we can have them roll out inside the coop into the tray, or have it on the outside if you want to cut through the chicken coop. Spent the day fishing with my dad. Very cool, man. How long did it take to plant the fodder trees? Bob, I am still planting fodder trees. I have 3 rows planted. I still have not run water long enough to hit those last 2 swales. But I mean, they work. It works for sure. We're just waiting for a big rain. We've got thunderstorm warnings right now. Haven't heard any rain, not seen anything yet. Definitely going to need more trees. I'm putting them in every 6 inches. I went and bought, it's a hammer drill because I wanted one, but as you know, you don't have to use the hammer feature. But I bought this 1/2-inch drill with the handle. This thing will break your wrist if you're not careful with it. So I brace it against my leg when I do it. And I use this auger right here. And I think you could use a smaller auger. I want to say this is a 2-inch auger, maybe a little bigger. Fed all the animals again at the end of the day, right on. Set the animals checked on baby bunnies, put in certain supposed. Let the driver UPS truck, they had the wreck, and Dave, the electrician, driveway with neighbor kids on 4-wheel. Extra corn, bean, tomato seeds. 50-pound bag of rice at Sam's Club tonight. Right on. Right on. Latest day on the compound video, you're torching weeds. Where do you torch versus spray? I would always prefer to torch them, but what you'll find is you have to torch them early enough before they go to seed. And a lot of times where you're torching, other shit will grow. It's like the seed, it's like the torch, it's like the heat causes seed that is already there to grow. So it gets to a point like grass sprouts up too fast. If it's got seeds, torching it doesn't seem to kill it, so I round it up. Scrap plywood 2x4s, 12x12x12, right on. Is that a regular wood auger? No, I bought it, I think it came off Amazon. I bought it for planting trees. It's a tree planting auger. And what you're going to find with those trees, here, let me show you, just for anybody that doesn't know. These trees are all on rootstock. Or maybe they're not on rootstock, but right, so this right here is your tree. And you're going to plant this sucker that deep, right there. Where that knot there is, you're going to plant all that in the ground. You can kind of spread it out, but you really don't want it like this, right? You want it traveling down. So having that auger, it really helps. And even using that big one, I think you're fine with it. It burrows out a nice hole. You set that in there, and then all the dirt that it kicked out, you just kind of push it back in there and tamp it in there a little bit. Scott Whitner, how are you? Jay Davenport, did you catch some fish, man? What kind of fish were you, any of you guys fish? Do you use worms? I have never, ever in my life caught a fish on a fake bait. I catch fish on worms. I've caught fish on, well, I guess fake bait. I've caught trout like on power bait and shit, and I don't fish. I haven't fished in years. What type of trees? I have hybrid poplar, Russian white mulberry, and hybrid willow. And we're planting them every 6 inches on 9-inch rows. And what that's for is we don't let them actually become trees. They grow up, we chop them down. And then they grow up and we chop them down. And every time we chop them down, they put out little runners, right? So those willow trees, it's not going to be one main branch. It's going to be 30 little branches. So we're really making them bushes. And we cut that stuff down. We can feed it directly to rabbits and goats and sheep, or we can take it and put it in airtight containers, think 55-gallon drums, with a little bit of sugar, and it will ferment. And you ferment it for 2 months, and then you can take it out and you have silage. And you can feed silage to animals up to 18 months if you store it properly. 18 months, I've heard 2 years also. Well, millworms for bluegill. Blue Hill, keep the day exciting, right on. Patrick Lee, hit that like button. Yes, thank you. Anybody get tracking info today? Anybody have a lever gun rig on order? We finished up a bunch today. There's still more out there that have to be laced up. There's probably about this many more. if you would please take and share this video somewhere. Let somebody know that this is going and it's live right now. Byron Roberts got tracking right on. You have to teach them to use the litter box? They don't just do it automatically?
Well, they're too little. So.
Joshua Winnie, sub-gun rigs. No, these are lever gun rigs. These are lever gun rigs. Reconnect, okay? We were off for some reason. It dropped signal. The OD ones. Let's look. I think I do have some sub guns. I think they're left hand. Oh, that's a right hand. Auger bit for DeWalt goes down about 12 inches, 3 inches wide. Yep. This might be 3-inch, John. Let's measure it. We'll see. I bought it, there was some targeted marketing ad, like on Instagram, I bought it. And when I got it, we were using it in the back to plant trees with some bigger trees that came in tubes, had soil with them. This is 3-inch. And in the back, there's a lot of rock, man. It'll snap your wrist off. Like, it'll literally fucking break your wrist if you're not careful with it. I would, if you're gonna do this, anyone, I would definitely recommend using one with a handle on it. 1/2-inch drill, Greg, 1/2-inch drill. YouTube's acting up tonight. Watching the live show before this show buffering. Cash Only Jay, what's up, man? Good to meet you the other day. Ran into Jay in a parking lot. I got some mail today from Greece. I'm surprised Customs didn't have this thing all tore open. It smells wonderful, man. It smells like the stuff that you put in olive oil. Sent me some honey. But I mean, sending this shit and the mail not giving them hassle over it, man. Shit, you could just send weed and booze, apparently. Did it hurt getting ran into? Haha. Looks like YouTube doesn't want this to be known. Maybe not, man. $5 here, regular gas. Yeah, what did they say? 90% of Biden's Twitter followers were bots. I guess that all fucking came out today and unraveled. Do you favor what the economy is going towards? New style, made to order versus old style mass production? Companies seem like this new style. Creativity, right? It's definitely not boring. There's excitement. We were doing it anyways, for the most part. We've never been a big company that had tons of shit sitting around. So I'm good how it is, right? Expose the vote fraud, 2,000 mules. I've not seen it yet. $7.83 for gas in Cali. In Louisiana or Los Angeles? Durham report. We're just about at $6 a gallon for diesel. We were 4 and change last weekend. I haven't paid attention to gas this week though. Robert John Thomas, how are you? So everybody's plans for the weekend. I could use some rain. I'm not saying I want it to rain for the weekend. I would like it to rain before the weekend and have the rain passed before the weekend. If you could schedule that for me. Work and cook. Right on. Camp in North Carolina. That sounds awesome. Side jobs. We need rain Southeast Texas. Yeah, Texas always needs rain, doesn't it? We've had a lot of rain, and now we're very, very dry right now. Range time with the wife, Dale. Right on. Ryan Ray, how are you? How was your day? Random bag of gummy bears sitting around there. Myrtle Beach needs rain. Abnormal dry spring and summer. Putting up a 12 by 12 shed. Right on. Having customers cancel orders because they don't want to pay the freight right now. It is large pallet freight though, so it ain't cheap to begin with. Tyler, is that ice machines? Man, I'm of the belief that if they don't order and receive the orders, that shit's not going to be there to get later. Got a brake controller, 7-pin connected, installed on my SUV. Ready to buy a camper. Very cool. Jobs around the house, range time. Hey, can I cater for Self-reliance? John Paul Jones, I don't know the answer to that. It always seems like we need more food. I would say reach out to selfreliancefestival.com and shoot that email over. I know we were looking for people. We have so many speakers locked on right now. I don't even know who is speaking at the event right now because there's so many. I just haven't kept up with it. But definitely, man, send an email over to selfreliancefestival.com and somebody will get with you quickly, I'm sure. Bear mentioned Self-Reliance Festival. Yeah, Bear's probably one of the only persons that I personally invited to come out. Tiny houses completed this week. Setting up delivery for next. That's awesome, man. That is awesome. Bob Lester, check out my friend. What's the name of his page? Blake Cobble. Blake Cobble is his personal page. It's Cobble Taxidermy. He's in, I think he's in Oklahoma. He's got a zoo. He closed his zoo down, and now he just breeds zoo animals for zoos and private collectors and stuff. He brought in some tiny houses. He built an island. You'll like his setup, Bob. He built this island, built a lake around an island, and the island is full of lemurs. He breeds lemurs, little monkeys. He's got camels out there and all kinds of shit. But he Airbnbs these tiny houses, and the tiny house is out there with the lemurs and shit. It's pretty neat, man. But you'll appreciate the level of the dirt work and stuff that he's done, I think. First started out with birds. How many did you lose? Are we talking parrots, African gray? I assume we're talking chickens, right? If you bring home, let's say Tractor Supply birds, right? You bring home 50, you'd be safe to expect 10 to die. I got 50 Cornish cross in the mail the other day, and the box was a day late getting here. We had 8 dead in there. So 42 went into the feed trough, which is up in the rabbit house up top. And then I have a wire framed, wood framed wire cover. And that's to keep mice from getting in there. Mice will get in there and eat your chickens and eat up your feed and stuff. 2 have died since then. So I'm now down to 40 for the Cornish cross. Now I think I brought about, I say 50. I walk in and I'm like, I'll buy everything you have. So I don't know how many cinnamons I think. And then I ordered from another place barred rocks, and Brahmas. And I've got probably 75 birds out there in that tractor right now that are up and on grass now. Like they fly and shit, or they're trying to fly. Never had bird before. I got 100 in late March. We've lost 29. That seems kind of high. I know people do all kinds of fancy shit with them when they're little. They give them, electrolyte water, apple cider vinegar, garlic in their water, all kinds of stuff. I've never done any of that. Never done any of that. In a crisis, how do you suggest people decide who to help and how much to give without jeopardizing? Don't help anybody, LW Jacks. No one. Were they there while you were prepping? If you give them, are they going to go away or are they going to come back? That is a fucking stray dog. How many stray dogs do you want? If we're talking crisis, are we talking your neighbor's house got blown down by a tornado, or we're talking without rule of law, electricity's spotty, if even on, right? Because that's a whole nother situation. Are you killing bad guys and just fucking burying them or feeding them to your dogs? We're not calling law enforcement anymore. We're handling our law enforcement issues ourselves. We're not helping anybody. If you weren't here and you don't pre-staged have shit here, you're not fucking welcome. Unless you're a fucking surgeon, or you know how to make anesthesia, or you have some fucking skill, right? If we haven't had this conversation early, you're not welcome. That's why we moved where we live. You're not, like, even people that are supposed to come here won't be able to get here if they're not here. LW Jacks, thank you for the super chat. Yeah, they'll want your things. And you better have a plan at that point to kill everyone you come in contact with. That doesn't mean intent. That means have played that in your head. What does that look like? How will you do it, right? Because when you send them away, what's going to happen is they are now disgruntled. The people that used to be your friends know the things that you've done and the time you've spent, right? While they were in fucking France on vacation, you were home with a shovel in your garden, right? You did other things for the future of your family while they worked all year to spend a week in Florida, right? What will happen is you will have the have-nots will hoard up and try to take from the people they perceive to have what they need or want. It's the exact same thing that happens right now. It'll just happen on a much larger scale. Chuck Peoples, thank you. That's the largest super chat I've ever had, I think. Anesthesia, I could handle that. Good on ether. Not just that. Cities only have 3 days of food. Absolutely, Cody. They'll be eating people. There's no coming back from Kuru. So Kuru will take a while to set in. Kuru will take a while to set in. And that's prions is what Kuru is. Very interesting to look into prions. They're there. Luckily, it hasn't happened on a mass scale like a pandemic. Who's the bald guy that has the YouTube channel called Mega Projects? He did an episode. He's got like 10 YouTube channels now. That guy must be fucking making a killing. And he's so well read. He's got a European accent, bald dude. Find Mega channels. Anyways, he did a video on prions. If you haven't seen it, you should watch it. Yeah, prions are in deer now. And it is permanent. Absolutely is permanent. The people who have things, money, jewelry, fancy things, shit hits fan. So, Greg, I like to say, people are like, how is your event different? Well, our event is, people came here anyways, right? We would have parties and have 900 people show up literally from around the world. People would fly to Nashville and drive to Camden, Tennessee from Ireland, Australia, Germany, Finland, Japan, China. Like, dudes were coming here from China for the parties and to train attack response. So they were already here. So when all the COVID stuff was going on, we never locked down. There was never an option where they were going to shut us down. We weren't going to let them. We continued to do all our shit, and we had a party, a get-together, and 250 people showed up. But they wanted to see all the homesteading stuff. And what I'd say is there's two kinds of homesteaders. And this is very, black and white, right? You have homesteaders that are so busy homesteading and they don't want to work and they want to live life on their terms. They have spent their entire life moving towards being on a homestead, and now that they're on a homestead, they never leave the homestead. They produce almost everything they need. They're able to barter for everything else, and they can do side jobs to make the money they need when they need money, right? So you have dirt poor homesteaders, and then you have friends, or you have the opposite side, right? I have friends who have done and succeeded so well in business that they make enough money to literally do anything they want, and they choose to homestead, and they're highly prepared and highly skilled, and they train all the time. Their entire families train, and that's the opposite end, right? So how do we mash those guys together? How do we put those guys together in the same room? And that's what Self-Reliance Festival is. We've brought all the tactical guys in who didn't know how to homestead, and we brought all the homestead guys in that didn't know all the tactical stuff, right? How many guys, a lot of homesteaders, they're not pacifists, but they're definitely not, they don't have a plan to kill everybody they come in contact with, right? Well, I'm out in the middle of nowhere. Nobody's going to get here. Nobody's going to steal my corn. But you're sorely mistaken. It's not their corn that they're going to come for. They're going to come for your wife and your daughters. And they will. The sex trade now is through the fucking roof. Imagine if there's no law enforcement, what's going to happen? They're going to come for your women. And then as a byproduct, just for hatefulness, they're going to burn all your shit down. They don't want your tractors. They just don't want you to have them. So you need to have a plan. Current building a food forest. That's awesome, man. And a food forest, the beauty of a food forest, for people who don't know, the food forest takes care of itself. Native American people, when they would travel during seasons, had food forest. Johnny Appleseed planting all them apples, they were eating apples as they would travel. Apple's a good calorie crop. It's a good filler, right? It makes you feel not hungry. Nut trees, high in fat, high in calories. They planted that shit. Those were food forests all through native, United States. And the beauty of a food forest is to the transient or the low life or just normal people, when they walk into it, they don't see food. They just see unkept fucking wildlife, right? It just looks like trees to them. They don't know. There's a channel called David the Good. I need to ask him why he named it that channel. David the Good. He's in Florida, so he does the shit a little different than we're going to do it. But that's everything he's about. And he calls it a grocery store garden. And when you look at his garden has a tree, a squash plant, some legumes, nitrogen fixers. It's all disarrayed. And he says because it is so disarrayed, the bugs they never really get a foothold, because he'll have a plant that's full of spiders that will eat the bugs that are eating the squash, right? So he doesn't have 20 squash in a line like I do. He's got his stuff just all hodgepodge all over the place, and it brings in pollinators and it brings in predatory bugs, and he just goes through there with a grocery tote, and just fucking picks some leaves of this and some, vegetables from this one and just builds his dinner. Safety in numbers. Apples are not from seed plants, though they have been grafted to a tree. Correct. Can you not take any apples, though, and grow them? Because I have peach trees that I'm getting peaches off of that came from peaches, and I have apple trees that came from dropped apples, and we pulled them up and put them in pots. Now, they haven't made apples yet. They don't make as good apples. Definitely using sign wood and grafting a plant makes you a plant exactly what you want, right? You can control the root stock. Is it a dwarf? Is it a semi-dwarf? Is it a tree where you're going to have to get up in a ladder to pick the fruit? You can still take a big tree stock and compass it down and keep it as a small tree. I keep most of my trees under 10 feet, especially because we planted under a power line out here on that main run. Apple trees need to freeze. Yes, most of your fruit has a chill time to it. Some apples have to freeze much, much less than others. And typically, if you are buying, now I've bought trees from Fast Growing Trees and all these companies, right? I have bought $90 trees. There's not a fucking one of them on the property still alive. The trees that have done the best on the property here have come from Lowe's, Home Depot, Walmart, and Tractor Supply. And typically those big companies selling trees are only selling trees that grow in your area. So you're not going to end up with a Washington State apple that needs fucking 500 hours of chill time for sale in Tennessee, right? And I just made that number. I pulled that out of my ass. It's probably much more than 500 hours of chill time. But those are the plants that have done the best. And they'll say right on the tag, hey, this one needs these, you can use any of these other 3 for pollinators. So when we put in trees, we put in for peaches, right? We put 4 of 4 different kinds of peaches. Yes, we have apple trees from one we eat lasted 2 to 3 years, which is patterned and then continuously grown and grafted. Avocados are the same way. Took 10,000 generations to produce one Haas avocado. Crazy avocados. I have not had an avocado worth slicing open and spooning out and putting some garlic salt on in 4 years here in Tennessee. The avocados we have had here are miserable. And I've spent a lot of money buying avocados that we just said, fuck it, and put them in the feed bin. The chickens ate them. They had no flavor. They were terrible. San Diego, I had an avocado tree in Mom's backyard. We could pull avocados and we could pull oranges right out of the backyard every year. And the fertilizer you use for those trees is the same. It actually says avocado citrus on them. Fallbrook had tons of avocado trees on the backside of Camp Pendleton. Rainbow back there, a bunch of places had the avocado festival. They've cut all those trees down. There's not a single avocado orchard in that corridor going through there. Out through on the way to Las Vegas anymore. I don't know how you do pineapple, but I know you take forever to generate the fruit. The green on top, it's a bromeliad. You can take that and pop it into water and soil, and it will grow another pineapple. Shipping on the new shirt. Patrick Caswell, thank you for the order, buddy. Currently building a food forest in my food forest area. Most info is coming from permapasture. B. Brooks, man. I just watched one of Billy's son. Billy's son did a video. I was going to talk about that. Billy's son did a video with a dude who's starting to do some permaculture stuff. Just moved to East Tennessee. He has a podcast on paranormal stuff. Interesting. Permapastures put that video up about 3 hours ago. You guys should check it out. Check out this other dude's podcast. He does podcasts on like demons and Bigfoot and shit. Seems like an interesting guy. He's got a lot of content out there. He's the Joe Rogan of the paranormal realm. Pineapple is 3 years to fruit. Wow. Yes, it will. Potatoes are good. Yeah, potatoes are excellent. Like you can't fuck up. Well, I'm sure you can fuck up potatoes, but if you're not sure how to, if you watch 100 videos on how to do potatoes, you'll see 100 different ways to do potatoes. And what I've gathered from doing potatoes and watching all the people do potatoes is just fucking do potatoes. Just do them. You want to grow big potatoes? Get big potato stock. You want to grow little potatoes? Get little potato stock. Sweet potatoes is a great option too, because you don't have to start from the tuber. You can make chits, right? So the vine, you can take a piece of sweet potato like you did when a kid, put a couple toothpicks in it and put half of it in the water and it'll start to sprout. Those sprouts will grow a vine. It'll grow a long vine. And you can take those vines, you can eat those vines. You can eat the leaves off of them just like spinach. You can wilt them in bacon grease. But you can take them and plug them into the dirt, and it will grow another vine and sweet potatoes. It'll fill your bed up with sweet potatoes. I believe you could probably take that shit, put it out on your property, let it run wild, and it would probably propagate over the years. Feed bags, yeah, feed bags, your sacks, your 50-pound sacks. You don't have to make them tall. You can fold them over so they're doubled over. Put soil in them, stab some holes in the side with a knife so it can drain, and you're good for the season. You can also just take soil bags of soil, cut them in half, and plant those. You could also cut the top out of them if they're laying flat and plant right in there. You could also grow in hay bales. And as far as there's people taking seed potatoes, putting their seed potatoes in a row right on the ground and covering it up with straw. And they're literally just growing them that way. There's guys covering them up with straw. You can hill up mulch. You can hill up compost. You could hill up more straw. It's going to be a 3-year winter. Cody, I agree with you. Grand solar minimum, we're about 2 years, 1 to 2 years away from the peak of that. And if you're not familiar with the term, anybody hearing this, it's the mini ice age. You're going to see growing zones shift by 1 or 2, right? What's that mean? That means if you are zone 6, you will be zone 4. That's literally the reason when we bought the greenhouse, we bought a greenhouse that would stand snow load that we don't ever have here. We bought a Gothic arch, which means it comes up to a peak. It's not a round hoop house. It comes up to a peak, and then it's cross braced. And we had it spec'd out, so instead of every 5-foot spacing on the poles, we have 4-foot spacing on our poles. We also have ability to heat it now. We have a big heater. It's a wood fire box heater that we're going to put in probably this year. Some landscapers use sweet potatoes as ground cover. Grow fast, have big pretty leaves. Maybe something to keep in mind in an urban forage situation. Oh, that's a good idea, Chris. Naval intelligence officer friend of father's taught me. Maunder maximum solar cycle, 400-year cycle of sun that surpasses the information. Yeah, so grand solar minimum and Maunder minimum are similar but a little different. And it's a 423-year cycle, and you're at about 421 to 22 years right now. And it's not a circle, it's like an oval if you look at it. And if you're not familiar, if you're hearing this and you're like, I've never heard this, check out David Dubine's channel at Adapt 2030. Adapt 2030, David Dubine. He puts videos out every day. He believes this shit so much that he moved here to Tennessee and put in row houses and is putting in permaculture and planting hundreds of fruit trees. A lot of videos. And then if you haven't heard of him, you might not also have heard of Christian Ice Age Farmer. You should check him out. Talking with Old Timer, and he said only thin fruit trees when they aren't green. It's the true. Is that true? Brooks, so when they're not green, meaning when the sap is not in the limbs, you want to trim them in the fall. When all the leaves fall off, all the sap has pulled down into the roots. Only trim them, ideally trim them when they're dormant, right? But sometimes you might have to trim them. You're going to have sap come out of them. They've got some tar you can put over them. I watched a lot of fruit tree trimming videos, and I've made a few myself. My videos aren't like instructional though, if you've ever watched any of my videos. I just kind of show you what I'm doing, and it's more of a diary, right? If you want to know what I do every day, I show you exactly what I do every day on video. And there's hundreds of them. We're loading 4 to 5 videos a day right now. But I watched all these videos, and the gist of it is, when you are done trimming your tree, if you are comfortable with the amount you've trimmed your tree, you probably haven't trimmed it enough. You want air and light to be able to get through there. You don't want any branches to cross. You don't want anything to rub. And you want, and I was just watching, I don't remember who I was watching, somebody that I really respect. And he said they're moving their fruit, they're taking on their peaches, They're thinning their peaches out. When they start making peaches, they're thinning them out to 12 inches. I have my fruit trees, my peach trees get so heavy in peaches that the branches touch the ground and the ants come up, and then the ants eat up and get in the fruit and burrow in. There's tons of times when we've pulled 5-gallon buckets of peaches, and when you start slicing them open to take the pit out, there's ants have burrowed through there. We still use those. We freeze those peaches and use them. Use them in oatmeal or grits or on ice cream or whatever. I still have tons of peaches that Josh put in the freezer. Guess I should stop doing that. Yes, my son loves to fish. Then when green and they do fine. Tyler, I'm not saying don't do it, man. I'm not saying don't do it. How many times do we do something because that's the way, right? And if ever a question, hey, how come we're doing it right now instead of in the fall? Or how come we're not doing it in the spring? Because you have to. Well, who told you that? Well, that's what my dad told me. Well, who told your dad? That's what Grandpa told him, right? And a lot of times when you track it back and you finally talk to Grandpa, Grandpa's like, no, I was out to sea, and that was the 3 months when I came home, so I just did it, and it worked, so we kept doing it, right? How many times have you heard you have to do this in a recipe, but when you talk to great grandma or grandma, she's like, oh no, we didn't have butter, so we were using Crisco, right? And 100 years later, your recipe says that you have to do it this way, right? Do you really have to do it that way? You should be able to throw a cat through the tree limbs. James Frigiani. I like that dude. I like his spazzy little intro. I watched a couple hundred of his videos when I started really gardening again. I love throwing cats. Have you seen what was the chick? Little fat girl, and she'd have like a stained bra, a dirty bra, and dirty panties on, and she'd be in like this rundown house, and you never knew whether it was her house. It's your girl. What's Kinsey? It's your girl Kinsey. Have you ever seen that? Do yourself a favor. Look up It's Your Girl Kinsey. And it's your girl Kinsey throwing cats. Watch that video. You'll love it. You're welcome. I just never thought twice about it. Figured trimming trees was trimming trees. Crisco is man-made animal fat rendered down. Brian, absolutely. I was just using that as an example. I was just pulling some shit out of my ass to kind of make it sound like. I heard somebody use that a year or so ago. They're like, how many times do we say this is the only way to do it? And when you really track it back and you talk to Grandma, she was like, no, you have to do this in a cast iron pan, right? Your mom told you that. Your aunt told you that. And then when you fucking talk to Grandma, when you go visit her finally, and she's like, Grandma, how come you're not using a cast iron pan? She's like, well, cast iron's heavy. Why wouldn't I use one of these light non-stick ones? These are so much easier on my wrists. But I thought we have to use cast iron. She's like, oh no, son. When I moved here from Arkansas in a covered wagon, we only had one pan, and it was a cast iron pan. You don't have to do that. That's all we had, right? But it got passed down generation to generation to generation that it had to be cast iron. Beer plant had a guy who watered down the beer barrels every day until someone asked why. It was to keep the wood moist. They had gone to metal barrels 10 years earlier. Always ask why. The old cut the ends off the meatloaf. It was only because Grandma's pan was... There we go. That might have even been it, buddy. That might have even been the analogy that I'd heard. You should be able to throw a cat through this. I love it. Just out here throwing cats. Some landscapers use sweet potato. Okay, we read that. Good conversations, guys. Wasn't margarine made to put weight on turkeys? Well, who knows, man? Somebody here will. They're now just telling us about the UFO sighting a foyer so many years. Yeah, I don't dispute that there's UFO sightings. I can't do shit about them. It doesn't affect the temperature of the water in my pool. I hope none of you guys get anything stuck up your butt by an alien. And it's distraction. If they're telling you about UFOs, what do they fucking don't want? What do they not want you looking at right now? How's your stock markets? Cut the end off the ham. Soft disclosure. They are now just telling us, Crisco, okay, I think we read these. 83 online. I've only got 64 thumbs up, guys, and half of those 64 probably aren't even on here. So hit those thumbs ups for me. If you're George from Greece, thank you for the package. I think that's Mountain Rider. There's a bonus to cast iron heating multiple ways and cleaning grease foundation. Also protection. Oh yeah, absolutely, Brian. We've got tons of cast iron in there. Every time I buy cast iron, I'm like, fuck, I hope I never have to use this for real. Like over a campfire. There was just now a shooting at Mitsubishi Murray Center. Where's that, John? We've had several shootings. And the New York Times and everybody is spinning that as though those are right-wing Republicans. The shooting in Buffalo, that dude was a communist. That dude was a communist. And the first person he shot was a white person. The drive-through where the dude drove through and injured 60 people and killed 13 at the Christmas parade, that was a black dude. And that was a bunch of white people he killed. And he had over 400 YouTube videos about killing Whitey. They never took his channel down. The Asian dude that shot the people in church, that was a Chinese person who took a rifle, tried to zip tie the doors closed. He had fuel there. He had planned to light the fire. He had planned to light the church on fire. That was a Chinese person shooting Taiwanese people. But they make them all out to be right-wing extremists. Getting ready for class at Jaeger's. Right on, Charles. When you coming into town? I won't invest in stock, crypto, etc. Invest back into myself. Property, business. Greg, that was my prepared answer for when dudes were like, hey, did you see the stock market went down today? It's exactly what I thought. I put my money into, I have crypto. I bought another $1,000 in Bitcoin last night. But I put my money into tractors, equipment, tools. I'm just super, super lucky that the shit I like to do is also where I put my money, right? It's my hobby also. And my woman's on board with it. My family's on board with it. When we have something broke, Cody gets right in there and fucking fixes it. Already the shooting. They have to get things revved up to get the summer riots to distract us from Ukraine, COVID, stock market. Yes. Yeah, there's something else though. Brass is the new gold. Bullets, I love it. I'm with you. I agree with you. Paul Revere, what's up, buddy? How are you? Cody Wee, yeah, the Manchurian Candidate, right? Very much something to that, right? Ted Kaczynski, MK Ultra. Who's the other fucking whack job? Charles Manson, MK Ultra. Fucking two of the most high-profile motherfuckers out there, admittedly by the CIA, MK Ultra project. Do you think they stopped doing that? Fuck no, they didn't stop doing that. You want to see what's happening? Enemies, Foreign and Domestic. There's a book. It's called Enemies, Foreign and Domestic. It's written by Matthew Bracken. Matt Bracken was a Navy SEAL intel officer, and he wrote this series of books. And it plays out, man. It's like they're following the script. You want to see how they get these guys to do this shit? That's a patsy. They didn't do that shit. That's a patsy. I wish YouTube would allow us to like other people's comments live. Couldn't have that, Brian. I'm baffled why YouTube took the thumbs down button away. Why is it still there, but it doesn't tabulate? Tabulate. Listen, there's 80 of you guys, 85 of you guys on here. When I post videos up, I need you, when you're watching the video, scroll down through the comments. If you see anybody asking a question that you have a viable answer to, like, hey, I've done that, I totally know the answer, answer those people. Have a conversation, build some community, and help someone out, especially if it's something that somebody's new on the journey and you've done it over and over, or you've seen it done. Just answer them. Give them an answer. Even if your answer is different from something somebody already answered, if you've done it and you know it works another way, just put that in there. You don't have to argue or you know, take away from the other dude. Just give them another option. Have some conversation in those comments and help someone out. A lot of you guys come here, and when we have an event, you meet a lot of those people. They're here. Those people that you helped, they will remember that. Every time I hear about civil unrest or more lack at Walmart, we just prep more. More chickens, more raised beds, underground business, more... John Paul Jones. Have we met, man? Have we ever shook hands? Where are you? What state? Not where are you? What state are you in? And I agree with you. I get to the point though where I've probably got 600 chickens on this fucking place now. We're making eggs. I gave 120 eggs away next door to the gas station. I mean, I have to prep in other ways. I spent the last 5 years learning to weld and garden. That's awesome, Patrick. It's not pretty, but it'll stick two pieces of metal together. You're talking about many people in society now that never learned to fail, therefore can't learn. Yes. What is your best course of action for college? Should you go to college and have them tell you how to fail and learn from failure? Or should you just go start failing and learn from failure? Which would you be better off with, right? If you're not putting your hands inside somebody's body, if there's not some governing agency saying that you have to have college, why the fuck would you go to college? I don't personally know a person. Maybe I do. Maybe I know a couple. I don't personally know a person that is looking to have their student loans written off. If you're going to take and write off somebody's student loans, shouldn't you also give fucking $8,000, $10,000, $17,000 to everybody else? Because I didn't take out a loan and I didn't waste 3 years of my life. I also don't know anybody who went to college. I mean, I guess I do know a few. I have some lawyers and doctors and shit. But for the most part, people that I actually know and interact with, I don't know people that went to college that are using that college degree. Yet they want that shit paid off. Met at the old shop when I was at Tackle Spot. Right on, John Paul. Always heard that margarine was made as a substitute for butter. You guys will like a channel called the S2 Underground. You should check that out. Also, Forward Observer. That's another good channel. Forward Observer will be here at our event speaking and presenting. I think he's talking about how to do an area survey. What food dehydrator? The gold standard really is Excalibur. There is now other things out there that are bigger and more expensive. I've used this Excalibur for probably 15 years. And a lot of times it ran 24 hours a day for months. It's a 9 tray. I would tell you, you don't have to get the one with the timer. As you see, mine doesn't have a timer. You can pay $100 more and get the one with the timer, but you don't need the timer. With that said, I also had some $30 Walmart dehydrators, the round ones, and they made fine beef jerky. S2 just put up a video about IR reflective camouflage. Yes, sir, they did. Iridium Group will be here. Iridium Group will be here. You should come see them. All you guys that have this, I love gas masks. They just fucking look cool, right? All you guys that have this idea you're going to throw this gas mask on for the end of the world, you might want to put this gas mask on and come chop wood for 5 minutes first. You're in for a fucking rude awakening. I'm trying to buy a cop rig. I want tan or OD, but the website says Mandrake is on the website. How do I order one of those? How do I order one of the ones that you don't see any on the live stream? These aren't cop rigs. These are lever gun rigs. I don't have a cop rig to sell you. Now don't get it twisted. There's tons of shit that you can buy that I don't have. Almost everything under $100 is open. You can order it. Doesn't mean we have it. But the bigger rigs, as we've been building the more expensive stuff, we've been locking everything down. I have a cop rig in Typhon. It's left hand. I have a cop rig in Mandrake. It's left hand. And that's the only cop rigs that I have. Wartime Farm series on YouTube. Wartime Farm is fucking amazing. I have said hundreds of times to watch Wartime Farm. I even, when I'm out taking care of animals, I just play Wartime Farm and just listen to it. You don't even have to watch it. And they also have Tudor Farm, and they have like 20 series like that. And for people that don't know, the BBC took these historians and they got people to grant them or loan them farms, the use of a farm for a year. And they took these old wartime farms and they had to live 100% to period, right? Didn't have electricity in that period, then you didn't get electricity. And they had to plow the fields up with it's not a keyline plow. It's a plow that you pull behind a horse. They had to fabricate the plow. They had to plow the fields to drain the swamp. They had to till them by hand. They had to plant their grain crops. Fucking crazy. Crazy. Great, great series of videos. What's up, John? On a fire assignment in New Mexico. Finally getting some sleep. Brian, right on, dude. Are you like a firefighter, smoke jumper, arson investigator, insurance guy? Had to issue fuel in a gas mask and chem suit many times. Good luck to anyone who expects get any work done with a mask on. Have I ever made a baby carrier? I have not. There are a couple guys that were. I think it kind of fizzled out and went by the wayside. Bakery rack. Make a great dehydrator. Used one, portable electric heater. That's great. That's a good idea, man. Because you could take that and put it in the sun too. So you could use sun heat. That's a really good idea. I remember Dad made some frames out of like window screen and 1x2s, I think. And I remember Mom sliced up a bunch of apricots and then she sprinkled, what did she sprinkle over those? It's on the tip of my tongue. It's the yellow powder, sulfur. She sprinkled sulfur all over them and then put another window screen over it, put them on the roof and when we lived in Lemoore Air Force Base and made a bunch of like fruit leather that way. Engine captain, Forest Service. Right on, Brian. Be safe, man. My sister used to do wildland fires, San Diego. She was on, fire flashed over one of her rigs. I think they lost a dude. They all deployed fire shelters. The rainbow fire. I think it was the rainbow fire. Yeah, actually, I think it was the rainbow fire. All right, guys, let me turn these lights off and shut this down. Thanks for the great conversation. A lot of value in here, I think. I learned some things. I'm sure other people did. Unfortunately, when this video's over, it publishes, but you don't see any of the comments. So, on any of our videos, when you're watching them, just scroll down through the comments and see if you can help someone out. Build some community, be of value. When I find that when you stop when you stop worrying about making money and you start helping people, a whole lot more money comes to you. It's just weird how that works, right? If you just do shit for people, especially people you don't have to do for, things start happening in your life and you're like, you're being blessed. Like that's all real shit. I don't think we talk about that enough, but that's all very, very real shit. Stopped Arizona by the Mexico border. Man, it's so bad down there. Night and day with the administration. Oh, fuck yeah. I bet it's a mess. Ancient captain. I don't know. All right, guys. Thank you. Have a good night.